All right, guys. Hey, it's Justin from Baseball and Whatever. There is Greg, and we are here with a special edition podcast interview. Greg, I don't know about you. It's been awesome. The last couple of weeks, we've been able to actually interview some pretty awesome people, and today's guest is no different. But before we tell you who we're interviewing, again, we are Baseball and Whatever. You can find us on Twitter at Baseball and What. You can email the show at baseballandwhatever@gmail.com, and we will read every comment, whether it's very kind or horribly rude. We will read it and grow from it. So whatever you guys have to say, let us know. We had some great YouTube comments from the last show. And also, if you do want to check out our previous interviews, we talked to Joe Darlington, author of Being James Bond. He kind of gave us the rundown on GoldenEye and all things Bond with the new movie coming out hopefully this year. If you're into Batman's history, we talked to TV historian Bill Koenig, which was an awesome interview. And if you are into the Mighty Ducks like I am, growing up playing ice hockey, we interviewed Mike from the Crack Attack podcast, and he told us all about the interviews with Steve Brill, the writer, and everything else that they've touched on with their former castmates there. So without further ado, this one is probably the biggest interview I think we've ever done, at least in my mind. I've been reading Game Informer since I was in middle school. I think my first magazine I read from them was the Street Fighter Alpha 3 cover, which is dating me a little bit there. But ever since then, I've been a huge fan, and we are lucky enough. Not only do we have a member of the band, the Rapture Twins, with us, not only do we have the co-author of Prime, which is a sci-fi book that you can find right now on Amazon, that he co-wrote with former NFLer Chris Cluey. And he's the host of the Comic Book Podcast, but probably what you know him best from is he is the editor of Game Informer. We have with us, joining us to talk all things baseball and whatever, Andrew Reiner. Reiner, thank you so much, man. We appreciate this a ton.
Hey, thanks for having me. And I appreciate all the support you've given me, like reading the magazine that long. I just never like hearing you were in middle school.
I was
doing my professional career.
Yes. So I'll be 34 next week. And I tell everyone I'm 27, and that lie is definitely not holding up here on this podcast. If it makes you guys feel any better, since you got really big into YouTube and replay and super replay, I remember I was finishing college when that all started. You guys don't look like you've aged a day since then. So
well, thank you.
You're only as old as you feel. That's my mantra. At least that's what I keep telling myself. So
I'm worried just one day I'm going to wake up and, I'm going to look like I'm 27, and then the next day I'll be like 86, just unrecognizable. It'll be like a cocoon sleep,
yes. I know there's a Twitter account that's like the cocoon timeline of when Wilford Brimley was that age, and then it touches on other actors and actresses when they hit that age, and they don't look anything as old as he did in Cocoon. So it's I don't know what that says about modern times and modern people, but again, thank you for joining us. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you for being here. This is awesome.
We are huge fans. Obviously, we're a baseball podcast first and foremost, and then we just literally talk about anything else we're interested in.
Sure.
As you can tell, Greg is a huge fan of the show, which we will get into. I think he's literally got every version of the show back there. Does that sound right?
I'm here from 06 from Big Poppy, and then I got 21 behind me. So I got them all. And proud to put them on display.
There you go. I know I was trying to find, I know I got it somewhere in one of my boxes since we moved, but I still have my copy of MLB Pennant Race. I think it was the first Sony produced baseball game. I got that for Christmas, I think 96, but that's neither here nor there. We are here first and foremost to talk Cubs. Reiner is a huge Cubs fan. I'm a huge Cubs fan. Greg is a Sox fan, but he is a baseball fan first and foremost.
I will say though that I am probably more of a Cubs fan than most Cubs fans, at least like knowledge of the team.
The players,
like people at work. People at work, they wear their Cubs jerseys and everything, and say, "Go Cubs, go Cubs, go Cubs!" And like, well, let me ask you about this. Let me ask you about that. And then they just stand there and stare at me.
If the answer isn't Rizzo or Bryant, they don't know. Yeah,
I mean, that's perfectly fine if you think Ryan Terrio's still on the team.
Don't diss the Riot. Come on now.
I like the Riot.
So I guess to kind of get into this, we want to talk about how you became a Cubs fan, Reiner. I know you've been based out of Minnesota for a long time. I know, not to feel like I'm creeping on you, but I feel like at one podcast or at some point, whether it was a show interview or something, you mentioned that you had family in Chicago, and that kind of is how you got into being a Cubs fan. So first and foremost, you just want to explain how you joined the Cubs fandom, I guess?
Yeah. So my dad is a huge Cubs fan. He's from Chicago, born and raised there. I was, full time, like you said, in Minnesota. But yeah, he really had an appreciation of the Cubs. And I think a lot of people in the United States that had cable TV were able to watch the Cubs on WGN, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it goes deeper than that. I'm going to show you a picture here.
Okay.
That is my grandma.
Mm-hmm.
So she was the first female Cub reporter for the Cubs. That's Andy Pafko.
Oh, yeah.
Next to her.
Wow.
So that's her doing an interview with Andy Pafko.
That's incredible. Holy cow.
So my kind of writing roots go back to my grandma who wrote for the Cubs. So, you know, every once in a while I would spend like a couple weeks in the summer at their house or, you know, their apartment, and she would take us to like convention centers and stuff like that. And, you know, she would do things with like Ernie Banks and, you know, like Billy Williams and all that stuff. Me just being super young, I had no idea what was going on, or, you know, any of that. But I knew my dad's favorite player was Ernie Banks. You know, so he had like every Ernie Banks card. He and I collected baseball cards left and right. But whenever you'd open up those packs, you know, it'd be like, come on, Cub. It didn't matter. You know, you could be going past like an upper deck Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card. And you just don't care. You're like, come on, Cubs.
Yeah.
You know,
could have been like a Frank Castillo pitcher card, you know, that who cares? But exactly. It was just the fact that it was a Cubs player, right? So
exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we'd go to Wrigley Field a bunch. They lived nearby. So we would, you know, make that drive and or, you know, sometimes walk and just be at Wrigley and spend an afternoon there. And it just became a part of my life. It was just Cubs. And my dad's the nicest guy in the world. You know, he was a pastor, but, you know, deep down, I knew like, if you weren't a Cubs fan, you're not bleeding Cubby blue. You're no son of mine.
Gonna hear about it. Yeah, exactly.
Well, the unwritten rule of being a son, right?
Exactly. And I'm kind of curious. I know, like for me growing up, I always like say this under my breath. And so like when I was a kid, we're talking grade school, very young, I actually started off being a Sox fan. That was when the Big Hurt had become a thing. Sure. I played second base in Little League. So Ray Durham was my guy. And then I still, you know, I think part of it too, my great grandparents were diehard Cubs fans. It was always on, similar to like you said, you know, it's ingrained in the family. And I think a lot of it too was like, no, I'm going to be this punk kid. I'm going to root for the other team that you guys don't like. And then I remember coming home from school one day, Kerry Wood's 20 strikeout game was on, and I was mesmerized. I'm like, holy cow. Yep. All right, I'm done. I got rid of the Sox stuff. And I've been a Cubs fan ever since. And I argue that you get, you know, in Chicago, you get like one chance to make a switch. And then after that, there's no going back. You don't just say, oh, well, you know, whoever's good, I'm going to be that fan. But, you know, it's funny because in Chicago, I'm a teacher and I have a couple students who say, oh, well, you know, I like both teams. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. If you live in Chicago, you have to pick one and you got to stick with it, you know, and that's about it. But I guess that leads me to my next question, which I know you kind of touched on a little bit, but like your first time being in Wrigley, what do you remember? Like what still stays with you? Because I know it's, I mean, for me, I still remember walking up out of the concourse and being like, whoa, this is so much better than anything I've seen on TV. Yeah,
I guess, you know, going to a bunch of Twins games first at the Met and then the Metrodome. The Metrodome's just an awful place to be, by the way. When the roof sank in, I think everybody in Minnesota was like, yay, thank God, it's gone.
Oh, I was so happy that day. I'm like, oh, finally the place is crumbling to pieces. So.
But, you know, I went to a bunch of, games at the Met, and that was like 81, I think, right around the year they had the strike and all that. And there just wasn't anybody there. You know, the Twins were historically bad around then, you know, up until 87. And it just didn't, you know, it just kind of felt like a fun time outside with the folks and getting, you know, a malt cup and some hot dogs and a soda and you kind of called it a day and, you know, rooting for Roy Smalley or whoever else was on the team at the time, Johnny Castino. I don't know.
Oh man, those are some cuts.
But you know, you go to Wrigley and all of a sudden it's like, it's immediately electric and everybody's unified and wearing Cubs gear and really into it and yelling at the players. And I was like, this is great. I love this.
It's night and day,
I was kind of scared, but you know, at the same time, I'm like, wow, this is baseball. You know, this place is packed. And I remember we had seats right down the third baseline from my grandma, obviously, you know, really nice seats and just being in awe of that field and the ivy. And it just had a unique vibe. And I think that's probably the case for a lot of people going in the first time, just that initial feeling, that energy, that just, it's not just the old confines, you know, the old structure, but just the fans, how they unify and just bring a buzz.
Oh yeah. And I mean, similar to what you were saying is I grew up in the south suburbs of Chicago. So trying to get to Wrigley was damn near impossible just because it was such a trek to try and get on the north side through traffic and things like that. And so finally, I still remember my parents took us to a game. It was supposed to be, gosh, this is going back a ways. It was the 03 season, and it was supposed to be the game they were going to clinch against Pittsburgh to go to the NLDS against Atlanta. And I remember they were going to honor Ron Santo that game. And of course, it got rained out, and we had sat in the rain. We were one row before the upper deck had the overhang, so we were soaked and didn't get to see any baseball. It got rained out after about 2 hours. We just sat there, but just being there, it was like, holy cow, and you never forget that first time of being in a place that you really find special. So, I mean, Greg, I know, the old Comiskey, I would imagine you had been to. Do you have a moment like that the first time you stepped foot in Comiskey, or the Cell, I guess, or not the Cell? What is it now? Guaranteed Rate Field?
Guaranteed Rate, big arrow pointing down. Well, actually, my first, can you guys hear me okay? Sorry, I was
we're good.
Okay.
You're good.
So actually, that was kind of interesting because my first baseball game was at Wrigley Field.
Oh, was it really?
And I went with my grandpa and a bunch of his friends. So I'm like a young kid there with a bunch of old dudes there. And I don't remember having a good time, but I remember like Sosa, Grace, I think Henry Rodriguez, Jeff Blau, those guys were in the lineup. So
Mickey Morandini, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe. I don't think he was down on the team yet, but I can't remember what year it was. Maybe 95, 96. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But my first time that was there, and I thought, I grew up watching Cubs on WGN.
Yeah, WGN.
I remember guys like Ray Ordonez and Manny Alexander playing ball. I'm just like, I've seen all these guys. So but then but when I went to the White Sox stadium, Comiskey at the time, and I remember they were playing the Mariners, and the first major league home run I ever saw was Ken Griffey Jr.
Oh man, that's a way to go. That's a way to start. Yeah.
So I remember your guy Ray Durham, Mike Soraka, those guys were. I think Chad Kruger was catching for the Sox, and Thomas and all those guys were on the team too.
Yeah.
So, but it was at Comiskey where I really had the fun experience. I was closer to the field. A hot dog vendor yelled at me, because I asked for ketchup. And
you don't do
That's a White Sox fan move.
That's what I learned.
Typical.
That's what I learned. I learned there as a kid. I never did it again at a game.
Never.
That guy scared the hell out of me. So
we went to a game in St. Louis a couple of years ago, and they were asking us if we wanted to put ketchup on it. I was like,
I know. See, now
makes perfect sense.
Move.
That's a cardinal move.
Now it's sacrilegious. So I think that's why I gravitated, because my family was all, my grandmother, my grandpa was all
Cubs fans,
Cubs, because they were so old. They were probably bitter over the Black Sox scandal. So, so I think it was just because I had that much fun at Comiskey Park. So I think it's like, I'm gonna root for these guys.
You're gonna roll with that.
Right. Be a little rebel and be a little shithead and you root for these guys. Plus black and white, my favorite color.
Yeah, I've never seen you in anything but black and white.
I don't own anything.
I guess my next question for you, Reiner, is: do you have, obviously in the pantheon of Cubs teams you've witnessed, do you have a favorite team from a favorite year? Do you have a favorite player that stands out that you really kind of rises to the top? Obviously, I know 2016 was a special year, but is there anybody else in particular that jumps out at you?
Yeah, I mean, you go 2016 and it's just like, oh my gosh. But growing up, it was Ryan Sandberg, Leon Durham, Mark Grace. They just had every year. Even I know a lot of people don't look back on it fondly, but Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire that whole year. Like every morning, I'd wake up and run out and get the newspaper and see, that was back then, and see who hit home runs.
Right, exactly.
And that was just a lot of fun. But pretty much anyone they put on the field, I become a big fan of. And it depends. If they come from the Cardinals or whatever, I just don't like them. But
yeah, I know it took me a while to get used to Jim Edmonds wearing Cubs pinstripes there for a while.
Oh gosh, I hated that. And like Albert Pujols, like when he went to the Angels, I was like, oh, thank goodness he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
But now I guess it's taken 8 years or 10 years, however long he's been on the Angels. I kind of forgave him now for being a Cardinal and a pain in the butt for many, many moons against the Cubs. And I like seeing him on the Dodgers now. I was like, oh, that's cool to see him in a new uniform. He's a legend.
Yeah. First ballot Hall of Famer for sure.
Yeah.
Right? I'm glad you brought up Sosa before I get to kind of like the 2016 team. is there, what's your take on, do you think they should bring Sammy back? Do you think, I know there's been stipulations that it's like, well, if he's going to come back, he has to admit to what he did. Do you think they should just leave him alone? Let bygones be bygones. What do you think?
I think you leave him alone now. He had the corked bat. He left the stadium in the 7th inning.
Yes.
When you do that, it's just kind of like, all right, you're done.
Yeah.
You're a pro player. We're giving you millions of dollars. Like, really?
Yeah.
You're gonna leave a game? Like, yeah, no, like he's done. Like,
yeah,
he's one player you just can't bring back. And also just the whole juiced thing,
yes.
I think until Major League Baseball figures that out, I think those players kind of need to just
It amazes me that they still, and granted, I don't know what the solution is, but it amazes me that every year, especially like when with Hall of Fame voting comes up, it's like, it's just kind of, let's push it further down the track and we'll deal with it later. But it's like, at some point you have to face that head on. I don't know what the solution is. I think
I totally do.
Yeah.
So I think they need to be in the Hall of Fame in a section that has, it's just like a big asterisk over the top of it. And it's like a black curtain. We used to have a comic book shop and a cigar shop in Minnesota called Schinders.
Okay.
And, and it was baseball cards and Pokemon cards, but I would go there for the comics and baseball cards. But they had this black curtain in the back where you'd go for like pornography,
Right.
I was too young to go back there.
Yeah.
But that's what they need to do for the juiced era is have that black curtain. And that you go, it's like kind of the mark of shame. And then you go in and you see like, oh, these guys were amazing at one point. These guys like hit better than anyone else.
Oh, yeah.
The thing is like once someone started cheating, they all started cheating, and then no one did anything until Jose Canseco came forward.
Oh yeah,
or whoever else came forward silently and and finally took care of it. But I do think they should be in there because they were amazing. Some of them, Barry Bonds,
Barry Bonds
before
is
he
a
was
pirate.
juicing.
Yeah. I mean, he was a quintessential. I mean, he was almost like a 5-tool player as a pirate, right? I mean, like I remember him just being able to do everything. Yeah. So, I know obviously with COVID and fans not being allowed to go to the games the last year, it's been kind of tough. But have you had a chance to be at Wrigley since they've done a lot of the renovations with the scoreboards and things, or not yet?
Oh, no? Yeah. I went to one game with the scoreboard. I haven't gone since they redid like the plaza out front and all that stuff. Yeah. But I saw the scoreboard. I don't know about that. I mean, it's nice for it to be somewhat modern, but I liked that they just had the old school. The head poking through the holes.
Yeah, totally.
Putting up the 0 or the 1.
Yeah.
And they still do that. It's cool. It's there, but it's next to this huge, gaudy.
Yeah, it's
really
big.
Nice big screen.
I mean, like, I feel like the first time I saw it, I was kind of like, okay, it's not what I necessarily wanted per se, but I feel like it could have also gone a lot worse. Like it could have been way, way over the top, especially we talked about this on our last episode. I'm not a huge fan of Tom Ricketts in general. So a lot of the stuff he's been doing with the team and the, Wrigleyville in general, it's just kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, it could have gone worse, I guess, has kind of been my takeaway from it. Greg, what about you? I mean, what's your take on it? I know, you don't make it to Wrigley as much as guaranteed rate, but
no, the last time I was at Wrigley Field was the day after Philip Umber threw his no-hitter or his perfect game in Seattle. In the first play of the game, they were playing the Reds, and Alfonso Soriano botched a pop fly in left field, and I let him have it. I let him have it out there.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, high ticket prices, whatever it is. I'd go back if I was able to. I mean, because baseball's baseball to me, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, Wrigley Field, I mean, with the way it's built up now and everything. I mean, it's like I said before, it's its own little community now and everything.
It really is.
You just get that historic feel from the stadium, and you seeing the Cubby blue and the pinstripes take the field. There's just something really special about that. Yeah. So, and I remember because I took my wife there the day after she got like she passed her test to become a nationally certified psychologist. So I'm like, all right, we'll go to the Cubs game and everything. And I wore all my sock stuff. I didn't have a Philip Umber jersey because no one had a Philip Umber jersey. I don't remember what I wore, but that was, I think they did win that game though. But yeah, haven't been to Wrigley in a while. So we'll
Go ahead, Reiner.
We'd go to a game and then afterwards we'd go grab a drink at, I think it was called Sluggers.
Yes.
It was right across the street. But we'd go do the batting cage, hitting the 80-mile-an-hour ball. Yeah. And just we'd do that for hours, until we couldn't swing the bat anymore. or until we were just way behind every pitch. But
right.
Yeah, that was amazing. I hope that place is still there.
It is. Okay,
good.
As far as I know, it still is. I know not last year, the year before when I went to a game, we parked at a friend's house that lives in Wrigleyville. And then we walked right by it. It was packed. It was everybody was having a good time.
And there was the McDonald's there too. That's got to be gone, right?
That I believe is gone.
Okay, get rid of that.
Yes, as is. I know there was. Yeah, the McDonald's is gone. Since they built the concourse in the plaza, that's been taken down. And
good.
Oddly enough, the media out here, there was a big uproar about, that McDonald's is historic. You can't get rid of it. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing now. Yeah.
No, it sucked because we'd go there every time and we didn't want to. It was like, okay, before we go to Sluggers, let's hit that McDonald's and just get something in our gut. And because you eat in the first, second, or third inning of the game, and then you're just sitting there drinking beer or whatever, and then you go to McDonald's and then Sluggers.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was something to McDonald's, but geez, like it shouldn't have been there.
No, it stood out like a sore thumb.
Yeah,
exactly. All right. Well, I guess we'll transition to the 2016 World Series year because honestly, I'm still living in that year because the last 5 have not been the greatest for the Cubs. It's been very up and down.
Still the same team though, right? Or
yes,
a lot of it. Still a fun team.
So first of all, where were you? What were you doing? How were you watching it? What's your recollection of that 2016 World Series?
So there's 3 people in my life that are big, huge Cub fans, like lifelong Cubs fans. My dad, my buddy Phil, and then me. And we all decided, like, in that last series, in the World Series against Cleveland, we couldn't be together. Like, it was just like bad mojo. We could not be in the same household. So we're all just texting each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's how it went. So game 7, that's where you need to know. Like, I'm at home, like just upstairs, like 30 feet from here, sitting in my little gaming area, watching my big HD TV, and it goes into extra innings, like the rain delay, all that stuff. It's just like I'm on the edge of my seat. Just losing my mind, my heart. I probably lost 5 years of my life watching that game, but like I'm just losing my mind. I didn't know what to do. And then, they took the lead. Ben Zerba standing, on second, his hands on his head. I'm doing the same thing, standing in my room, just going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then they recorded that final out, Bryant throwing it over to Rizzo. And I just started screaming, the Cubs won the World Series. Cubs won the World Series. Well, I have a little girl here who was at the time 2-3 years old. So I ran out into the backyard. This is back here. And I just started doing laps in my backyard, screaming the Cubs won the World Series, in my boxer shorts and just going bonkers. And then I immediately went on Cubs.com and put like $400 worth of gear into my cart. Yeah. And then I was like, whoa, what am I doing? I just bought like a hoodie and a shirt and called it a day. But I was just so happy. And, it's one of those things you never thought would happen, right?
No.
Like you saw the Red Sox win and you're like, well, now really the Cubs will never win because they were never supposed to win.
Right.
Now it's all on us. Like the curse is just all on us. But for them to win that, it kind of took something out of the sport for me a little bit, right? Like
I agree.
It was like this, like you watch every game and like seriously on MLB TV, whatever on the app just changed my life more than WGN. Like I could watch everything or listen to everything.
Right.
If it was blacked out. Being in Minnesota, I can watch.
Oh, you have everything.
Game.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it was just like, maybe this is the year. Maybe this year. Oh, this team's so good. And then nope. Okay, next year. And you're counting the days till next year. Well, they win the World Series and you're like,
what now?
All right, we did it.
It's like that scene from
I guess there's next year.
Like, I don't know what to do with my hands. It's
yeah, exactly. It was just kind of like, okay, cool. So the intensity is not there anymore, but I still love it. And I love our team. And I would go to and I watch as many games as I can, but that intensity, that it was a vital part of being a Cubs fan at the time. And and I'm glad it's gone. I'd rather have a World Series victory than just, chewing my nails off every game, pulling my hair out. So,
I remember, Greg, I think I was texting you. I'm like, I can't do this. This is
well,
like,
that's what I want to, that's why I want to ask you guys too, is like Justin, I know how you felt because I remember those text messages, but Ryan, how did you feel when whatchamacallit, Chapman gave up the home run to Rajai Davis, because I know, Justin, your heart sank right there.
I was like, this, I'm like, all right.
You said, you just
like, this is
me,
how it's gonna
happening.
End. Yeah.
It's happening. I was there. My just really quick, my jaw dropped.
Yeah.
I was like, the Cubs are being the Cubs again. History's repeat. It's happening in front of my eyes. Game 7 of the World Series. I was just like, I don't.
On the biggest
I'm not
stage.
even a Cubs fan. I'm just like, it's happening.
Yeah.
So
I thought they were collapsing. Chapman was throwing in the mid 90s. He wasn't. He was gassed, right? Like he didn't have his gas. He was he was gassed because he was used so much. Now it's just like, yep, that was it.
Yeah,
they overused him early, and now he's the piece they need, and he doesn't have it, and it's just all going to fall apart. Yep.
I kept thinking back to 03. I'm like, this is 03 all over again, but on a grander level. And I'm like, how can you possibly do this to me? Twice in my lifetime. Now, granted, I was only, I'm only in my 30s, so obviously I don't have this huge length of time that like my great grandparents who lived their entire lives, never saw World Series, but were huge fans. Right. And like I said, I remember texting you. I remember when they went to the rain delay, I was so anxious. I went on the treadmill and I was running because I'm like, I need to do something. I can't sit here.
I remember our other brother-in-law, Vinny. He disappeared for a little bit. I'm like, hope someone checks on him. Hope he's okay.
Where did he go?
Then he came back to the text thread, and then you came back, and you guys were just lighting up Joe Madden. I was like, back and forth. I'm like, wow. I
feel like I've kind of done like a complete 180 now on Madden. When he was with the team, when they brought him, I was so excited. I loved him as a manager for the
all
Rays.
Cubs fans were,
I thought he really improved the team. And then that World Series, granted, I have nothing in baseball except Little League and travel league when I was in grade school. So I don't know as much, but I just remember the Chicago sports station out here. The whole story that week was, they said they might bring in Lester to pitch relief, but don't worry, it's not going to be. It'll have to be a clean inning. Joe Madden says it'll be a clean inning. He won't bring him in between batters. And then what does he do? He brings him in halfway through an inning. I'm like, oh my god, no. Yep. This is, it almost felt like at that point they were winning in spite of some of the decisions. Granted, they still won, so that's all that matters. But it's crazy.
Hopefully that's us this year at the Sox. So.
That's the thing. You just got to say they all won it. Like Jason Hayward, his contracts,
it's worth it. Now.
He's not living up to it, but that pep talk he gave in the locker room, apparently
that was worth $127 million.
It's worth $100 million, and it's like. Cool.
Yeah.
I can never badmouth that guy. I don't like watching him bat anymore.
No.
Especially this year. But yeah, thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
Thank you for the World Series. Thank you for getting rid of that stress. And giving us a World Series victory. Yeah.
It was phenomenal. All right. Well, that leads me to this year. So obviously there's I wouldn't call it chaos, but there's a little bit of uncertainty with who's going to be back next year, what free agents, between Brian and Rizzo and Baez, and, maybe two of the three won't be back. The pitching is still hit or miss depending on the week. But let's say tomorrow, Reiner, you get a call from Tom Ricketts. They make you GM, or Jed Hoyer makes you GM. What are your moves? How do you turn this team around if you were in charge?
Jason Hayward is the one that stands out the most. And it's, everybody's eyes are on Baez, Bryant, and Rizzo, right?
Sure.
Those contracts, Contreras, one more year after, right?
Right.
But yeah, I think it all begins with Hayward. You got to do something with him, just like the Angels did with Pujols, right? Like they just kind of cut bait. Eventually, it's just not working. We need to improve here.
Yeah.
The Cubs really need to do that there. I don't know if you pick up any pieces. I don't think this is a playoff year.
No, I don't think
I think this is a proving ground year for some of these. Is Rizzo going to be back? Baez, Bryant, especially for Bryant. Like, he really needed to prove himself. And should he be given a contract? I don't know.
Yeah, I get worried with him. Just
all of them, I do.
He's having a phenomenal year this year, but now is it because it's a contract year? Is it because he's finally healthy? He's had a lot of IL stints in the past. Yeah, it's tough. I wish. I'm glad I'm not making these decisions, but it'd be nice to get that paycheck. But I think you make a good point with Hayward. I don't know. What about the pitching staff? What do you think? How do you fix the pitching staff, or what can you fix the pitching staff? I guess
you just got to go. Yeah, you just got to go young here. I don't think, like I said, don't pick up pieces, that are for a playoff run. I think you got to look like they did with Yu Darvish, it was like, whoa, he's like one of the best pitchers in the league. But, they got a lot of pieces for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where they need to look, is maybe getting rid of a couple of these players and getting young pitchers in exchange that they can hopefully groom and turn into the next core.
Yeah.
And then,
reload.
at that point, maybe you bring in a number 2 or, spend some money on an ace, to complement those rookies. But I just don't see him making a run this year, like with St. Louis where they're at. I hate the Cardinals too. Seriously, I'll see Cardinals in my yard and I just will like stare them down, like get off my lawn or out of my tree. I think they're a second place or third place team in that division.
Well, and I think it's deceiving too, because the Central this year is just so bad. I think some people might buy into the fact that they're going to think they're better than they really are, and then that might set you back if you try and make these grand moves to try and improve the team and make a playoff run. And really, even if you made the playoffs, you're going to get wrecked by somebody, from, I would imagine, the NL East if it gets that far. Greg, I mean, obviously go ahead. Well, I was going to. We've talked about the Sox wanting Bryant all the time. What would you do as a Sox fan? How would you tackle this? Besides, take all the players.
Right. Yeah. No, I'll take Chris Bryant from you. No problem there. No, that does make a lot of sense, because you don't know, how it's going to play out. Even if they squeak into the playoffs by whatever the rest of the Central collapses, you don't think they're really built for, a deep run. So
no.
Maybe it is time to think about that. Trade deadline's coming up. Maybe it is time to think about, because you're not doing a full rebuild here. You're just kind of refreshing a little bit, rebuilding that farm system a little bit, because you do have some young pieces here that have some potential. You got a Horner and a Hap that could be the next building blocks. We talk about it all the time. So if you can get, because I think you could get, especially now with Bryant, the way he's playing desperate teams out there, you could get some stuff,
Okay.
So
let's say you keep one of those 3. You have to keep one of those 3. Who do you keep?
To re-sign like a long term.
Yeah, Rizzo, Baez, or Bryant.
All right, if I'm going with my heart, I'm going to go with Rizzo just because I like Rizzo. But now, is that the logical answer, because he only plays first and he's probably the oldest of the 3? I mean, logistically, I'm thinking Bryant, but I'm worried about his injuries.
First is a position you need to deliver, though.
That's true.
You need the pop and the production. If he doesn't have that anymore, if he's past his prime, that's a tough one. He's a fan favorite. You want him in those pinstripes.
Yep,
his whole career. I know he started San Diego, but it'd be nice to have him be a lifelong Cubs player. Right? That's
a really good question. Unfortunately, I don't know if there's a good answer. Greg, what would you do in that situation?
Well, Rizzo makes sense, because he's like their captain. He's like their heart and soul in the locker room. He's the leader. He's the popular guy. Everyone knows Anthony Rizzo.
He'll be the cheapest too.
Yeah, he'll be the cheapest. Exactly. That's what I was going to say. So, and he's the guy I think's been most. Like with Rizzo, you know what you're getting from Rizzo pretty much. So whether it's a slow start, whatever it is happening, you know how he's going to finish towards the end. So
he's consistent overall.
Rizzo makes the most sense for me. He's like the guy that I'll always see as a Cub, even though, he was in the Red Sox or Padres organization.
Yeah.
There's like that's like a guy that just says, like Cub for life or whatever.
Right.
So,
right.
I don't know. I think that makes the most sense to me, but, and I think if you ask me, I think it's the most likely. So
I think that's what'll end up. And I could definitely see Bryant being traded before the deadline, especially if they fall out a little bit more. Baez is a tough one. I go back and forth now. When they first called up Baez, his rookie year, I would have been like, oh, this guy's not gonna figure it out. And then he had that, MVP caliber year, and now he's kind of, it's like a roller coaster. It's very up and down. So we'll see what happens. But
his strikeout rate is is really worrisome right now.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they keep him just because he's a fan favorite.
Yeah.
And I want them to keep them all. I just want a 2016 curtain call until they're done playing and they're Cubs for life. But, they already got rid of Lester. He's a part of that crew.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's time to break up the band. I think
it's definitely going to be interesting going forward to see what they do. In a way, I don't know if I'd call it excitement, but a little bit of curiosity. Like, all right, this is going to be a different team going forward. It's, kind of reinvigorating that fan base a little bit. Like, hey, here's a new group of guys we can get behind. The past was great, but now we have to move forward. So we'll see what happens. But before we get to talking the show and baseball video games, we have been talking about this a ton. What is your take, Reiner? We devoted our last episode all to this. What is your take on this whole unwritten rules of baseball that keeps coming up? The Tony La Russa, obviously that was going on with the Twins last week. What's your take on that whole situation? I'm just curious. As somebody who's kind of outside of Chicago, we're curious if the country at large has a different take than the Chicago media, because in Chicago, Tony La Russa is getting raked under the coals and for good justification at times too. So, what's your take on all that?
I mean, I hate that guy.
All right, we're on the same page then.
Like, I mean, he got a second DUI a day before he signed.
Exactly.
And it's just like, just stay away, dude. I just don't. And the Cardinal, like, go away. But sorry, I know you're a White Sox fan, but just oh no, can't stand him.
Greg, I think you hate his guts too, right? I mean,
I think I did a whole I think I did two videos on him where I I mean, there was okay, when they first hired him, Justin, I was pissed. That Bob Nightingale tweet came out. I'm like, oh no,
this isn't real. It's not going to happen.
Joke. And then it happened, and then I'm like, I was going through everything, like a DUI, old man baseball. And then there was that brief moment in spring training where I saw him there, with the hat, the sunglasses and everything. I'm like,
maybe
it's a Hall of Famer right there. I'm like,
he still got it, right?
That kind of looks cool. And then that lasted for like a day at most. And then all his antics, I mean, your mean Mercedes stuff, that was the icing on the cake. Like, we all knew that was coming, especially with this team. We all thought it was going to be like Tim Anderson related or something, but with your mean, showing off or whatever, all that stuff was him in his old school baseball. Just I've had enough, and I want him gone. So
he and I think too, it's not even.
But he's not going anywhere.
No, he's got carte blanche with Jerry Reinsdorf. But I think that the interesting thing for me, and I've seen this pop up on Twitter and things, is people are saying, well, people kind of saying, is the media kind of being ageist a little bit, kind of blaming it on his age? But then it got me thinking, I would take Dusty Baker as a manager, and he's a little bit older. I mean, he's La Russa's age. There's other managers around the league that are a little bit more older and have more experience, but they don't strike me as this, crotchety, old, set in his ways, not going to change, doesn't embrace the new way things are being done. And I just think it's more of a personality conflict, and obviously the way he handles things with society in general, just, doesn't really vibe with the way the world's going these days. But it's been interesting, to say the least. As a Cubs fan, as a casual observer, just sitting back and being like, oh, this is going to explode in their faces. It's just a matter of when.
Oh, it's got to be comical.
It is.
If I wasn't a Sox fan, I'd be laughing at this all day long. And I wish I could, but it just want to make you cry and toss your computer out the window. So
especially when
usually we're the ones getting made fun of. Signing Milton Bradley, and it's like, they did what? Or trading for him?
Don't remind me of that one, Reiner. Holy cow.
But I said earlier, the White Sox are finally good. We have this team, a lot of the pieces are in place. We have a chance to start this run, and then in walks Tony. And, we just can't have it. We just can't get it right. We always got to look like we're doing something stupid again.
This is why you can't have nice things, right?
No, can't have nice things. No.
And then to say that he sided with, Rocco Baldelli and throwing at your mean and all that was a whole other
but like
issue.
I said in our last video, you're apologizing to the Twins. Like, that is the most damning thing for me. Like,
for Sox fans, no less. Yeah.
Yeah.
God. I mean, we've all known there's unwritten,
right.
You see it a lot in games, just like all of a sudden, like someone's getting thrown at and you're like, well, what happened? It's very much that eye for an eye kind of thing. The announcers kind of dance around it a little, like, and you see the umpires is kind of warning both sides, and it's like, okay, maybe that's it. But there definitely is beef in baseball, and I like that the teams are, unified, and, it's us versus them. And,
right.
We're locked in this battle for these 9 innings, and, you want that intensity from your players, and you want that passion. And, sometimes it boils over, and there is that, thrown behind the player. That's what you want to see. Right. You don't want to see him get beamed or anything like that. But
exactly.
But yeah, just kind of a don't mess with us kind of thing.
Don't let it happen again. Right.
Right.
So, all right. Well, we can kind of transition a little bit here to the video game aspect of it, because we obviously we can't let you get out of here with talking about video games, right? So, Greg, you are one of the lucky few that was able to get a PS5 this year. I'm still on the hunt. I think I'm just settled with my PS4 and Switch for the time being. But Greg, obviously, we have Reiner here. Reiner, you've reviewed. Gosh, I can't remember how many versions of the show you've reviewed. You're
all of them except one.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I couldn't do it 2 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. And I know you've reviewed, the RBI games, which, oh God, that I remember I read your review the one year and I'm like, for the Switch, I guess it'd be cool to have a baseball game to play on the go. It can't be that bad. And I remember I bought it and I just remember thinking, oh God, the playability just isn't there. So I immediately
Which one did you get again, Justin? Was that 17, 18?
I think it was 18. I want to say it was 18.
You probably don't have it anymore.
No. I think I had that in my possession for about 2 days. And then I was like, nope, this is going back to the store.
That long, huh?
And then you have, things like Super Mega Baseball, which I absolutely love. I think I've played that more than the show the last couple of years, in all honesty. But Greg, what do you think of the show this year? And I'm kind of curious. We'll compare it to Reiner's opinions on it. What's your takeaway from, you've had the show for a couple of weeks now for the PS5?
Yeah, I absolutely love this year's edition. I am a huge fan of the new stadium creator. Obviously, I've been working on that. Obviously, I haven't really created anything decent with it yet because I don't have it. It's a pretty complex design tool if you really think about it. No, I think it was just so refreshing to get it on the new console and everything. And they brought back a lot. Like me, I'm a little things guy with the show. So a lot of the customization options that are there for the players, because I'm primarily playing franchise and I like to, play around with it a little bit, a lot of fantasy drafts, a lot of legends, stuff like that.
Sure.
So, just really, really enjoying it. The roster vaults, great again, Justin. I know that was a big thing with
I
you.
loved in the past being able to download a year's worth of roster from like 1994 or 1995 when I really got into baseball, and then just play it out. And it's all these old classic players that I grew up with.
So yeah. So the gameplay at its core, I think, is fantastic. A lot of fielding improvements, a lot of hitting improvements. The
new pitching was pretty cool.
The new pitching is great. That kind of brings you back to a little bit of a 2K style almost. So just the core gameplay itself with the show 21, I think is really solid, really smooth. My gripes really come with just kind of lack of attention to the my favorite mode, which is franchise mode. And
it's not where the money is, Greg.
Right. No, it isn't. No. It's with Diamond Dynasty, and I get it. And I know Diamond Dynasty, the card play. I mean, what they did with that, I think, is really fantastic. But maybe I'm a little bit of a dinosaur myself when it comes to that. So I remember we tried to get into it a while ago, Justin, and we just never saw it through for whatever reason. Kind of so, and it's a fantastic game mode, but for me, I'm like the traditionalist with the old franchise mode, and even what is it? Road to the Show. I think gamers like the narrative style now. Yeah. Of the gameplay, more just kind of like working out and building up your stats. So
the mini games and things.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's very in depth. So I think I just gotta
dive deeper.
I think I gotta come to the new age a little bit when it comes to that. Maybe branch out of franchise mode, because I feel like that's been kind of stuck. Right where it's at for a couple. I mean, they've done a few little things here and there, little changes here and there, but I'd like to see more. So,
Reiner, what about you? Like, in terms of the gameplay has always been pretty solid. There's a few things here and there they can improve. Is there something that's kind of standing out to you or glaring that you're like, gosh, I wish for future iterations that they would tackle this, or they would go back to the drawing board on certain things? Or do you think they've kind of reached their peak and it's just a matter of staying at the top now?
Yeah, I think it's the perennial all-star, right? I think they've hit their stride these last few years or couple of years, and it's just maintain that, build on that core. The new fielding animations are amazing. The paths players take, balls off the wall, all that stuff. all those kind of little awkward things, most of them are gone. There's still a few, like when they're rounding first or, coming out of the batter's box that are, look a little odd, but the catchers just look perfect now. The way they attack the ball that's in the dirt, it's like, holy cow.
Yeah.
The calculations this game is firing, transitional animations, how fast they're doing it is amazing. I love Road to the Show being a two-way player like Ohtani.
It's not awesome.
So you get the best of both worlds, pitching and batting. That's just cool, especially when you do you only play your at bats. So you're going through games and
super
seasons.
quick.
Yeah. Or a season, in 40 hours.
Right. Right.
But and then Diamond Dynasty is where my friends and I play the most. We have our custom league, and we've been playing a lot, getting a lot of legends. So I have like Roberto Clemente and Tony Gwynn coming off my bench, like for pinch hitting.
Yeah. That's pretty.
It's funny though, because you're in that mode and you're like, okay, pitcher's coming out after 2 innings. You're playing 5-inning games, so they get gassed really fast, and then you're like, oh, who's coming? Oh, Ken Griffey Jr. he has on his bench, or like Frank Thomas or something.
Yeah.
Like, oh, cool. All right, let's go.
I'll burn him for one at bat. Then he can get back to the bench. No big deal, So
I dig that mode. There's just so much there, and then the how you unlock those players, those little career highlights.
Yeah.
I think I was going through like Chili Davis or something, his career. And it's like, I didn't know he did these things. That's cool. He had some good games.
Yes. Not so much as a hitting coach, maybe, but
no.
Greg, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, I would really like to see, I know they probably were focused on the next gen release for this year, but I would really like to see advancements with customs. They have a game mode called Custom Leagues now. And that came around, I think, 2 years ago, maybe. And it was pretty good. It's a good concept, but I think there's a real opportunity there for players to really, kind of make the game they want, with the features that are already given to you. So I think right now, I think it's only online, but I think if they kept it online and offline, I know they integrated your Diamond Dynasty team a little bit with it. And I think there's a lot there they can do with the game, because if the modes aren't, exactly the way you want, I think you can really make something, you like. And maybe they have a mode called March to October. I think that could be, I think
it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yes. I almost think that could be like that could be almost like a combo with franchise. I think there's a good way to make that a hybrid, mix them together. I don't know if that has to be a separate mode, but if I could even, because when I was playing, like some of the 13, 14, 15 titles, I would carry over not a franchise, but like a season mode.
Sure.
Where I kind of, because you could do, you could sign players, you could do draft stuff, but it was, you could like, one thing I loved about it, you could set the number of games your team would play.
Right.
Because in franchise mode, it's set to do a lot of simulation.
Sure.
Where I'm a little bit old school. So it's
you want to play everything.
I'm here to play the game. I'm not paying for the game to play. For the computer to play it for me.
Yeah.
So I would do, like a 29 game season or something. I would go years and years and years. And I did a fantasy draft, and it just kept going and
I'd
going.
say you got your money's worth of all those episodes.
Oh yeah, no, totally.
The show behind
I absolutely did. I totally did. And then they got rid of that mode in 18. So I'm like, that kind of sucks. But I feel like Customs League is
that's a place to go.
I think there's some stuff SDS can do with that in the future, and hopefully they do, because I think they really got something good going there, because they have a lot of with all across all these modes, they got a lot of good stuff. So to kind of integrate that all together, I think they may have something with it.
And now you have a whole new consumer base too, with Xbox getting in on it too. So
absolutely. Yeah. I know.
Crossplay.
Happy for them, because it's been a long time since 2K13 or whatever it's been.
Yeah, that had to be rough when all you have is RBI to play on the Xbox console.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I know that's got to be huge. Hope it'd be nice if it came to the Switch too. So
that'd be pretty neat. Yeah. Reiner, besides the show, is there any other baseball video games that stand out? Going back to the NES, all the way back. Is there anything that really stands out as something you really enjoyed or played a ton of?
Baseball Stars on NES.
Yes.
You could put in your own team name. So I would take, the 8 teams or whatever it was there and turn them into major league teams and have my players. And then it kept stats and I'd write all those stats down. And then I upgraded to Earl Weaver Baseball on my computer, my 386. And then I'd have my printer printing out all those stats after a week of play,
right.
Just wasting paper like you wouldn't believe. And then just, all World Series Baseball and Genesis, and just the whole evolution, MVP, we've been blessed with so many great baseball games throughout the years.
Yes.
I've just put in so many hours, and you always want them to be better and better and better. But now we're at a point where you're just like, this is so lifelike. And it's awesome. Yeah. And we're complaining about other things like getting nickeled and dimed and buying a pack of cards.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Everything on the field, you're just like, geez, it looks perfect.
It does,
yeah. And now, Xbox players, that was the big thing. It was a Sony exclusive, but now everybody, well, we'll see, hopefully Switch can get it. And just have the best baseball game everywhere. I think that's great.
Yeah,
awesome.
100%.
I know. I still remember. On my Genesis, the amount of time I put into RBI 94 and oddly enough, LaRussa Baseball 95. Those were the 2 games I had for Genesis.
You sent a screenshot of.
I know. I feel like not many people know about LaRussa Baseball, but it was definitely little more low key. RBI. I love RBI. Baseball Stars. I loved Baseball Stars. Played a ton of MVP 04, I think was the one with Pujols on the cover. I remember I played it so much, I think I broke the disc because it was my PlayStation was falling apart and I had to keep flipping it upside down before I got the DRE issue fixed. Right. But and I think MLB 2K7, I think it was one of the years Jeter was on the cover. I played a ton of that too. But
that was one of that might have been their best.
That was a great game
right there. Yeah, because 2K6 was a little. It's coming next gen. It was a little shaky, and then 2K, you saw the trailer for 2K7. You're like,
wow,
hit
it out of the park.
No, that was great. But you mentioned MVP. I think 04 and 05. I loved MVP 05. So
All-Star Baseball,
All-Star
create your own teams. Have co-op baseball. It's like
Yeah. I think like the, as nervous as I was about EA buying, was it Metalhead that makes Super Mega Baseball? I feel like the more baseball games we can have out there for fans, whether it's more simulation or more arcadey, the better. And we'll see what happens with them. Hopefully they do right by them,
I hope so. Yeah.
All right, Reiner, we'll get you out of here quick. We're going to do a little rapid fire. We'll see what you think here.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Favorite Cubs jersey that the Cubs have worn in their history. What would you go with?
Oh boy, I don't know what 1914. I think it's the bear with the bat.
The bat,
the white bear with the bat, and then
that's
the
a classic
darker blue. That's definitely my favorite of their hats. I just think that's a cool one. But then just their travel blue jerseys. That one,
the alternate,
yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's good stuff. What about we counted down our favorite jerseys in a past episode. Besides the Cubs, is there any jersey, any cap that you stand out, or are you solely it's got to be Cubs and that's it?
Oh man, some of those old Astros and Padres hats.
Yes.
Even as a kid, I was like, what the heck is going on there? The old Pirates hat that had the yellow lines.
Yes.
Yeah. The stripes.
That one was cool. Just the ones where they try to be a little different really stood out.
Stands out.
The ones that are playing it too safe, like the Phillies, stuff like that. It's just kind of like,
yeah, you got to switch it up, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What about favorite place to sit at Wrigley?
I like being on either the first base or third base side in the sun. But the best moment I had in the stands was when Ryan Sandberg and Wade Boggs were being elected into the Hall of Fame, and we were under the bleachers, on the third base side, and that's where they'd walk up. There's like kind of the VIP box seats up there, and then the what do you call it, the audio booth and all that stuff. So we saw Ryan and Wade walking, and everybody in the stands did, and everybody starts clapping and yelling for Sandberg. And then my buddy who's there goes, and we love you too, Wade. And then Wade looked down and Ryan looked down, and they were both laughing. And he's like,
awesome.
Wade's pointing at us. And
that's awesome.
And I was like, okay, that's like one of the one of the best seats or best moments I've had at Wrigley.
Totally. That's incredible. What about favorite food to order at Wrigley when you're at a game? What do you go with?
There was a drink vendor that would serve Mai Tais.
Oh, I've had those. Those were good.
Yeah, so I'd have a Mai Tai, but then it's just whatever kind of hot dog I could get my hands on.
Whatever.
I'm a big fan of Chicago dogs when I'm in Minnesota or going to Super Dog.
Oh yeah.
In Chicago, I love that, but at Wrigley, it just doesn't matter. It's like there's so many good ones there. I'll just go bonkers on that stuff with the onions and all that. I can't remember which one that is, but
the relish.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What about favorite non-Cubs team if you have one? Do you have any other teams you follow in baseball?
Right now, the Toronto Blue Jays, just because of all the kids. Oh, well, it's like Guerrero,
Bichette,
Biggio's kid. Who else is there?
Bichette.
Bichette. Yeah, I'm just like,
right.
It's like the what do you call it? The Muppet Babies of of the baseball players I grew up watching. Right. Like it's like the younger generation. I just think they're cool. Like I'm just like, I love watching that.
Mm-hmm. It's, I can only speak for myself. I'm sure, Greg, you probably feel the same way. It's getting to that point now for us being in our mid 30s. Like all these people we grew up watching are either getting elected to the Hall of Fame or their kids are playing now.
Their kids are playing now.
You kind of have that epiphany like, oh God, I'm not a kid anymore. Like, it's a bummer. It's kind of depressing.
Starting to hit us now. Yeah.
Yeah. I never thought that day would come. What about favorite non-Cubs player of all time? Who would you go with?
This is a White Sox player, Carlton Fisk.
Wow.
Nice. So I liked him when, like when I was really young, before I even knew what the rules of the sport were when he was a Red Sox, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had that 1972 baseball card with the three players. I can't remember who the other two were, but Fisk was on there. And then I had just a full album of Fisk cards that's still at my parents' house. Yeah. So I was a big Carlton Fisk fan, and just the battery, the old school battery, Johnny Bench and Fisk, and
waving the foul ball, at Fenway and stuff like that. So awesome, excellent. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We definitely appreciate it. I guess my last question for you before we let you hit the road. We've only been doing this for a month and a half. Obviously, GI has been doing big with podcasting. I know I saw the announcement. I think it was Dan Tack announced that you guys are going to be doing more live streaming on Twitch. And what type of advice do you have for, a couple guys that just got into this because we were bummed out. We didn't get to see each other as much because of COVID. What would you recommend for two newbies going forward?
Just keep doing it. Keep getting the word out there. Repetition is your friend, and that's how you make a mark. Just keep at it. Just know that the viewership, the listenership, I don't know what term it is for podcasts, but it will come, like you will find an audience and people will start spreading the word. And I had a blast being on the show.
Well, thank you.
I hope more people, keep, you get more guests and you keep growing, and just best of luck. Keep doing it. If you love it, keep doing it. That's all that matters.
Anytime you want to come on and commiserate about the Cubs, whether they're winning or losing, you just let us know. We will be happy to move things around so that you can join us anytime you like. So,
I love hearing that. Yeah, I'll take you up on that in the future for sure.
Sounds good. Well, I know in terms of GI, you guys, you brought Super Replay back. I know I'm a huge fan since the original. I know I've loved Bloodborne and all the Souls games. So it's been great to watch you guys talk about those and play through those. Is there anything else you'd like to plug in general, either for GI or just stuff you're doing across the board?
Yeah, just keep reading the magazine. Okay. We got some great covers coming. I've booked the next 3 or 4, I don't know, 4 more issues down the road. And there's some big unexpected games on the way. Excellent. And awesome. We'll learn about some of this stuff in June for E3.
I'm excited for E3. Yep.
Awesome. And check out our the website for news, GameInformer.com, and then you can find me on Twitter if you want to talk Cubs or baseball or video games at Andrew_Reiner. And that's it. That's my life.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Cubs and video games.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Well, again, thank you a ton, Reiner. If you like what you've listened to, or if you're watching on YouTube, we are Baseball and Whatever. You can find us on Twitter at Baseball and What. You can email the show at baseballandwhatever@gmail.com. And again, we are on all podcasts, whatever avenue you use to get your podcast, whether it's Apple, Overcast, Google, Anchor, Spotify. We are there. So feel free to check us out. Reiner, thanks again. And we will see you guys next. We will see you guys next time. Have a great night, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, guys. See you.